right, afternoon. How we doing? Ravens week. So, as always, good football team. You know, they've been Steve Bisciotti, Ozzie, now DaCosta, John Harbaugh. Been a model of consistency down there. You know, put out good teams every year, well-balanced teams, you know, offense, defense, and they're always good on special teams. So it's been a big challenge for us this week. You know, looking forward to digging into these guys, getting ready to go on Sunday. I think the Miami game really just showed how explosive they are with the kickoff return, long run, long pass for touchdowns. You know, we know they can score on defense with their ability to create turnovers. It's one of the best turnover teams, you know, in the last, whatever, 5, 10, 15 years, wherever you want to track it. Strip sacks, ball hacking guys in the secondary, and an outstanding kick blocking team, both field goals and punts, so and returns. So they can really hitch on just about every play if you're not careful. Got to play a good fundamental game. Have to play a smart situational game, and you know, it's a physical football team that likes to run the ball. Complements that with some explosive pass plays. And obviously, Andrews, one of the top guys in the league at his position. Big target, great hands. Makes all sorts of plays for him. You know, they had a huge year last year and is building on that this year. So, and just a well-balanced team. It's going to take good effort from everybody all the way across the board to do well Sunday. But that's what we're gearing up for.
Bill, after starting 2 weeks on the road, how nice is it to get back home, normal home schedule, and have the fans back here at Gillette Stadium?
Yeah, always good to play at home.
Bill, I know it's only been 2 games with Mike McDonald as defensive coordinator there, but any similarities to what the Ravens have been for years? I know he has a Ravens background.
Yeah, he was there for 6 years. So.
Pretty similar then.
Pretty similar. Yes, pretty similar. Yes. Obviously, Wink has put his flavor on it. Mike's got his. Again, it's 2 games, so we'll see how it all plays out with more evidence in. But right now, there's certainly a lot of carryover from what they've done in the past. But there's some differences too. So you can see it's not the same, but it's similar.
Did you guys do much work on Lamar or get to know him at all in 2018?
Yeah, he visited here.
What do you remember about him during the pre-draft process?
Good. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Great visit. Spent a lot of time with him. Yeah, really interesting guy.
How have you seen him grow in the league? Obviously, he came in and questions about whether he could handle being in the pocket, and it seems as if he's answered some of those questions.
Without a doubt. It's the type of player that's a MVP type of candidate. So I think he's more than answered him. But we'll see what his contract is. That'll answer him.
Bill, you had some success against them in 2020. How much does that play a factor in the game planning? Do you go back to that and look at some of the ways that you had success against, particularly Lamar?
Yeah, I think that game's going to be quite a bit different this time around for a number of reasons. But yeah, we'll look at all our games against them in a 19 game down there. The 20 game, but they've had a lot of changes. We've had a lot of changes. I think the guys that'll be out there on the field for us are quite different than what we had out there in 20. And you're looking at the same thing with the Ravens. They drafted 10 players this year in the first 4 rounds. So certainly a youth movement there. So yeah, we'll look at it. I don't think it'll have that much bearing on the game.
Bill, when a player makes a play and gets excited for a special celebration, particularly like Nelson on Sunday with the big play before the end of the half, how do you sort of balance encouraging guys to being excited about making a big play? And looking back at the play, Nelson, he did a little ball flip as he crossed the goal line. It was pretty close to one of those Deshaun Jackson plays where it's like you let go of the ball before you go to the end zone. How do you measure or balance letting guys celebrate versus hey, you got to take care of the ball?
Yeah, well, I think it's a lot different when it's a play that ends, so a touchdown or a turnover. That's a lot different than, you know, catching a 20-yard pass and then you have to run another play. It's not a touchdown. So, look, we're all happy when we score. We're all happy when we turn the ball over, things like that. The plays that end the series, if you will, or there's a little more time for that, and the players get excited. They should get excited. They've worked hard all week, trained hard. Go out there and make a big play. I mean, they should be excited about it. But when there's another play to play, I mean, you got to keep playing. You don't get excited until the drive's over and you finished. You finish the drive. No different than sacking a guy on first down. Still got second and third down. We're not even off the field yet. So that all comes with playing the next play. But all the other things that come into play, ball security and finishing the play and things around the goal line, possession of the ball around the goal line, and all that. We talk about that all the time.
You mentioned, I referred to Andrews, and there are multiple tight ends, and also with Ricard in that group.
But he's no tight end now.
But I'm saying, like, as a big body.
He's a big body. He's a big body.
Yeah, how do they use those? I mean, how do they get those guys to kind of complement that explosiveness with Bateman, Duvernay, some of the other players, so that, in terms of the running game, but also in the passing game, and that physicality with those particular players.
They run the ball, and those guys fake the run, and then they throw it to Bateman and Duvernay and Andrews and all their pass catchers. So, Miami got hit on a couple of plays where there wasn't a lot of depth to the defense. They split them and went for long yardage. But they attack the running game very aggressively. It's really a gap running game with the running back, and obviously the quarterback's a big part of that. And then when teams come up too fast, then they either throw it in front of the deep guys or throw it over their heads, depending on how deep the deep guys are or aren't. So, but they're not. I don't think they're really looking to get the ball to Richard a lot, and I don't think they're necessarily looking to have Bateman come in, be a big part of the running game in the box. That's those guys complement each other. The more guys come up, then the more space there is for the speed guys in the back end, and the more they stay back, then the more space there is for the running game inside. So they do a good job of that.
When you see the Ravens defense give up 28 points in the fourth quarter to Miami, would you expect their defensive game plan to be tightened up, preparing for you guys?
I think those are all just one-time plays. Be surprised if they happen again.
You face two tough offenses, but there's only one Lamar Jackson. What's it like working with Gerard and Steve as they prepare the defense for this challenge?
Yeah, challenges every week, but certainly the Ravens have a lot of them. It's the quarterback, it's his passing game, the running game, his ability to make loose and extended plays, the explosiveness of their receivers and tight ends, and him. So, yeah, I mean, there's challenges every week. We'll have to do the best we can to defend those threats and schemes that they run. They have a good balanced scheme. They do a good job of attacking defenses. We know that, so sure they'll have a good plan for us, and we'll have to be ready to defend the knowns, but also adjust to the unknowns when those show up in the game. Every play is not a gadget play or something we've never seen before. I mean, any good team has a core group of plays that they run, and that's their bread and butter, and they have some things that come off of them. It's important that you're able to defensively defend all of them, but that's a lot easier said than done. These guys have a lot of weapons. They're well coached. They're a pretty experienced team. I mean, a rookie center, but I mean, he's a pretty good player, and played a lot of college football, and pretty veteran offensive line, quarterback, skill players. So, they're tough, well coached.
Does Lamar remind you of anyone over your years as a coach, as a passer, the way he runs?
He's pretty good. I don't know. He's got a lot of talent.
Billy Yates starting the game from the sideline as opposed to up in the booth. Is that a setup you plan on keeping moving forward?
Possibly. Take a look at it.
I guess, why did you make the change?
Just we thought it was the best thing for the team.
Well, I wanted to ask you about physicality. In the aftermath of the game, Nelson talked about wanting to play with an edge. I think he broke a couple tackles. Jacoby finished a couple plays at the sticks, close plays that he powered through. Talking to Slater on Monday, he said, we want to be the hammer, not the nail. How important is that part of the game for you? Like, is that when you're saying, hey, these are the things we have to do, is that at the top of the list pretty much every week?
Yes. Yeah, that sums it up.
Why?
Thank you.
Bill, over the 3 stints, Jamie Collins, what have you liked about him as a player over his time here?
Yeah, no, Jamie's, I love Jamie. Great kid, he's been good for us. Not on the roster.
Jabril Peppers, how would you just sort of characterize his playing style?
We'll see. I mean, I haven't spent a lot of time with him. Played a little bit in the preseason, played a little bit these last couple of weeks. I think he's developing, a role and a style in our defense. We'll see how it all plays out. He's smart. He's tough. He's aggressive. He wants to be involved, but there's also a level as a defensive back where you have to have a certain degree of patience and decision making. There's usually nobody behind you, so it's a little bit different than when you play, nose tackle. There's some people behind you. It's not the case on your safety. So, but I mean, he's a good player. I'm glad we have him, and he has some versatility. Really helped us in the kicking game. I think he'll help us defensively. He's already helped us, but made a couple good open field tackles last week. So we'll see how that builds along.
I think we left some meat on the table with the physicality. Is there anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I'm good. No, thank you.
Bill, what's Lil Jordan brought that's allowed him to carve out a little bit of a role here? It seemed like he had some positive impact in the run game the other day.
No doubt. Yeah, I think some of the toughness that we were talking about. Made a big catch there on that 2nd and long that got us into a 3rd and short there on the last drive that where Mac ended up scrambling. So he's had a lot of tough yards in preseason, made some tough catches over the middle. Fought for some extra yardage, ran after the catch with the ball, blocked, played in the kicking game. It's a big place for us in preseason, down in kicks and covering kicks. So he's an interesting guy. He's, doesn't really fit a mold for a certain position, but he's a good football player. So glad we have him.
Bill, we've talked a lot about 50-50 balls, kind of going even back to early in camp, I think, with Devontae and Nelson, obviously, as a touchdown this past weekend. Have you had to work at all with Mac on being more risk tolerant, maybe throwing to guys who are covered and just trusting that can be a good decision?
I think that's always a part of any quarterback, receiver, coach, passing game conversation. It's always a conversation. Who's covered, who isn't. Just because there's a guy there, depends on the matchup, depends on the pattern, depends on the play. It sometimes depends on the situation. So there are a lot of variables there. We try to talk about them. The quarterback's got a split second to make those decisions, and he processes it and does what he thinks best.
How difficult is that for, knowing how much a turnover can swing a game, just being comfortable with that gamble?
Well, again, all the things that I just said play into it, so it would just depend on how. I mean, if it's a 10-90 gamble, then it's probably not a good idea. If it's a 90-10 gamble, then probably is a good idea. But there's all circumstances that play into it. Again, all the things I just mentioned.
Has Mac gotten better, in your opinion, year 1 to year 2, as far as judging those percentages?
Yeah, he's gotten better at a lot of things. But, I mean, it's similar to what he dealt with in college. I mean, there was good receivers at Alabama. There was some matchups that, he took that were good decisions. But, again, I think you have to kind of separate out it's not all equal. There are a lot of factors that come into play, and I think you just have guidelines, and then within those guidelines, the quarterback has to make the decision with the ball in his hands in a short amount of time. And I'd say Mac does a good job of that.
Coach, they use a lot of motion in their running game. What does that challenge the run fits? When they add on blockers with the motions.
Yeah, it's 3 weeks in a row. We've seen a lot of that. Miami did a lot of it. Pittsburgh did a ton of it, and combination of misdirection and with all the motion as well. So you have a lot of motion, and then you have some kind of hardball plays, and then you have all that motion, and you have some misdirection plays to go with it, and play actions to go with it. So it really forces a lot of eye discipline for the off-the-ball players, the linebackers and safeties. The guys who are on the ball, they don't see all of that. They see the blocking scheme in front of them, who's attacking them, who's blocking them, and what type of block are they trying to make on them, and they react to that, whether it's a cutoff block, a reach block, a base block, a high arm, whatever it is. They're really playing the blocker and then finding the ball. It's the guys on the second level, the linebackers, the safeties, could be corners involved, whoever those players are, trying to sort out, who's got who, depending on what coverage you're in, who's got who, do we switch it, are we locked? If it's a 3-man switch, it's a 2-man switch, who's got the back after he fakes, after all the crisscrossing happens, who's got the quarterback. It just takes a lot of discipline and I would say pre-snap communication. So when the ball's snapped, kind of knowing what you're doing, and then recognizing it after the snap. Pre-snap communication is fouled up, then it's hard to get it right. So it starts with that, and then everybody has to kind of see it the same way. There's multiple things to see. So again, you try to set rules, guidelines on how to play those things. They're not all the same. It's difference between a tight end missile motion across, a wide receiver missile motion across, a back missile motion across. I mean, those things are all, the offense does that to try to keep you off balance and keep the defense confused or hesitant. And so they're kind of look the same. They're not all the same. That's the idea. But we have to classify them the way we classify them, and then, as I said, all see them as they unfold. And it's challenging. So, yeah, and the Ravens do a good job of it. They do a great job of it.
Final question.
Bill, can you confirm that the team's trading Justin Herron to the Raiders?
No, but when we can, if we can, we will. Great. All right. Thank you.